Hello, welcome to my channel. I am back after a long break. I have been to Italy for more than 3 weeks playing tournaments, and my internet connection wasn't the best, so I couldn't really upload videos. Besides that, I also didn't have that much time, but hopefully from now on I will back to normal schedule. So at least a couple of videos per week. The goal is like 4 or 5 at least. So that would be the goal. And I am actually not even sure, but when I left to Italy, it was a discount on our course, 1D4 repertoire for ambitious chess improvers. And once I am back, so it was early September, now it's the end of October, so close to Halloween. So again, there is a discount, and actually our course is originally not was not among the discounted courses. So of course there are hundreds of courses on Chessable, so there was a selected selection that which are discounted now. I guess these are just changing from time to time, but it was actually selected as something special, something like um, from Mr. Doji, I believe, well-known internet personality, so to say, on Chess24. So he selected these courses, maybe because it had good reviews or something. But so it's a great honor for the course. Anyway, so it's again with discount, so you can find the description in the description under the video the full course, how you can buy it, or you can also check a 3-hour free preview. Okay, so that's about this information, and let's go to the game. So today, and probably also in the next video, we are going to take a look at the Grünfeld defense, but not the most common, but it's still a very common way of playing the Grünfeld, actually, especially against the line we recommend in the course. So d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5, knight f3, bishop g7, bishop f4, short castle, and rook c1. So especially against this move order, many players are going for c6 here, so they are not willing to enter this lines with c5, because it looks like that white is very well prepared for it, and it's indeed the case. But still, I believe Grünfeld is the best for black to go with c5, but c6 is also a very popular move for black. I believe we can already claim some success from the opening, because I can show you a very similar opening, which comes from the d4, d5 move order, c4, c6, let's say knight f3, knight f6, white plays e3, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop e2, short castle, let's say. So black made the same moves as in the Grünfeld game, what we are going to examine, but there is a huge difference that here this bishop is on c1 and not on f4. So obviously it's much better to have this bishop on f4, which is not possible in this way. I mean, we can try to aim to go for it with knight c3, but of course it allows all sorts of classical Slav or e6, semi-Slav, and so on. So it's a different cup of tea. So that's why in this move order, if black opts for c6, I already consider it a minor success. So we play e3 now. Black played bishop g4 in this game. Maybe I even forgot to say the names of the players. I'm sorry about that. So it's strong Cuban Grandmaster Nogueras with the white pieces against Fernandez Garcia. The game was played in 1984. And a very typical idea in d4 openings that when this bishop is coming out from c8, it obviously weakens the b7 square. And if, in addition, white has a pressure on the d5 square, then queen b3 is a very logical move, immediately eyeing these 2 pawns. Queen b6 was played in the game. Bishop takes f3 is not a great move. So giving up the pair of bishops, g takes on f3, queen d7, black has to protect the pawn on b7, and now bishop e5 is a very nice move. Basically just avoiding any type of knight h5 business to attack the bishop on f4. And also we have ideas to take on f6 and then to again put pressure on this d5 pawn. And in case of dc, bishop c4, b5, I just wanted to show this position in order to demonstrate this idea, which also can happen when our pawn is on g3 in some openings, but also when the pawn is on f3. So our king side is a little bit damaged, but the bishop will be super strong after bishop f1, bishop g2, castling short, playing f4, and the long diagonal is amazing for the bishop. So our king is completely perfect in this case. So queen b6 was played, that's the correct move, and here we have already the critical moment of this video and this game, because actually this was also not clear for me. I kind of learned this when we were looking at this line with Angelica, that so black has a lot of options and white has a lot of options in this case, when there is this tension with the queen, so what to do, and also there is this tension with the pawns. So should we wait for black to take, or should we wait for black to take on c4, or should white take on b6, should white take on d5? So, there is a big tension with the 4 different captures. And okay, we can pass now with white, so let not take anything, but then okay, will black take something? So it's a very critical moment already in the game, and actually there is one good solution here, and others are basically not giving anything for white. So the good move here is queen takes b6. It's an extremely important to start with this move. So what are we aiming for here? We are aiming for targets on the queen side, and if we would let's say just pass, I mean, what is a normal pass is like bishop e2. In that case, black can simply take on b3, a b3, and then just develop with the knight, let's say to a6. And we don't really have any targets on the queen side. The knight can jump to b4, which is a very nice square since there is no a pawn to kick that knight, and we don't really achieve much here. So waiting is not really good. What happens if we take on d5? It looks also very tempting. I mean, the problem is here that black has this important intermediate move, queen b3. And after a takes b3, once again a very important move, bishop f3. So the bishop is already not doing much on g4, but by taking this knight, black avoids knight e5 tempo. And after gf, cd5, black has absolutely no problems here. His structure is good. The knight is coming to this nice square on c6. And he also has ideas like playing knight h5 and even taking the bishop pair, which just completely equalizes the position. So for example, if you want knight a4, quickly enter on the c file, knight h5 is just equality immediately. So on cd, this queen b3 is the problem. So that's why we start with queen takes on b6, a takes b6. And again, if we are not precise, then we completely give up the advantage. So c takes d5, super important move here to create the weaknesses on the b file. If we would play, let's say a3, looks logical to stop the rook's activity on the a file, then black has a strong move dc4. So you can say that black is giving up the center, but actually he is just securing a very nice pawn structure for himself. After bishop c4, b5, bishop e2, knight d7, black has no problems whatsoever. Look at these pawns here, all protected, and knight can come to b6 later, maybe to c4. White has some space in the center, but it's really pretty much meaningless. So the endgame is just equal here. So instead we play c takes d5, and basically we make sure that these p pawns will be isolated. That's the key here. So once the c pawn disappears, and you can see in this position, that's the problem after a3, that black can take and the c6 pawn remains on the board. Here after c d5, the c pawn will go away, and then the b pawns will be isolated there, and those pawns will be weak. So black has two options here. I mean, it's not such a big difference. The game c d5 was played. Hard to say which one is better. If knight takes, we of course take, no question. We create the structure, we play a3, knight c6, and let's say bishop b5. And we managed to create these targets, especially the b6 pawn is easy to attack. Sometimes even the knight has such ways to go towards the b6 pawn. Of course, it's later in the game, but those weaknesses are not running away. So in the game, c takes d5 was played, knight to e5, bishop e6, and white played bishop b5. Of course, it's a good move. I would prefer to play a3 here, just to make sure that no accidents can happen with the pawn structure, I would say. So the rook is still a little bit annoying here, hitting this pawn, and the piece has to protect this pawn. It's always much better if pawns are protecting each other after a3. Now there are no tricks with the rook on a8. So bishop b5. Now black played rook c8. And white played king e2. It was still not late to completely prevent black's counterplay, which is connected with knight e4. So white could have played f3. So the point is to cover the e4 square. Normally the problem with this f3, that black has this move knight h5, trying to get rid of this bishop, but now we have a very strong move knight d3. Normally we are not really happy to give up this bishop, like knight f4, but now, thanks to the absolute horrible situation of the e6 bishop, it is still a very nice position for white. d5 pawn will hang and the bishop cannot really move. So it was still good. What happened in the game king e2 is a little bit inaccurate, I would say. So knight c6 was played. Now h3. f3 was still probably better. And after h3, black played knight d7, which in some sense already like a very serious mistake. Here he had the opportunity to play knight e4. And thanks to the fact that white did not take the time out to play this a3, actually black has serious chances here to equalize. And I mean, according to the computer, the position is even equal. So what is the problem? The problem is that if we take this knight, then black even has this bishop takes e5, intermediate, bishop c6, bc, so many captures, and the position is just equal here. And if we start with a3, which would be just a nice move to already have in the position, then okay, it's actually black who is faster to do these trades. And if we take on e5 after trades, it's actually black who is playing for the win. So yeah, this knight e4 idea, we have to watch out for this knight h5 or knight e4, and f3 would have addressed both of these. So instead black played very passive with knight d7, but basically then we can say that white achieved everything he wanted. So finished development, pawns are isolated, black's bishops are very passive. Black is also lacking some space for his pieces, and therefore the next move from white is a sort of a textbook move. So black is struggling with space. A lot of pieces are at the It's not very close to each other, so do we trade? No, not really. Just went back to f3 and let those pieces suffer. Black played f6 with some bishop f7 e5 ideas, bishop g3 going away from that, bishop f7 and rook d1. Very slowly, but okay, it's an endgame, so we don't have to rush. What is the idea? The idea is that if in case of e5 we can take, and then we have strong pressure on the d5 pawn, so black was not in the mood anymore to play that move. e6 was played instead, and finally a3, so now it's really the perfect setup, and black actually falling apart very quickly. Bishop f8 was played, that's fine. Rook d2, king g7, and rook c2. So now there is some pressure on the c file, and there are some threats, and black simply did not address. So it looks like that white is just playing very slowly and without any threats, but actually there is one. And black blundered it with playing bishop e7. Bishop e8 was the best move. Of course, the position is pretty sad for black, but this was the right way to go. So the point is to cover the c6 square. So if the knight moves, let's say, to a2, then black can play this very nice move, knight b8. Very sad position, but it's not. Black is not losing material right away. Instead, he played bishop e7, and knight a2 was impossible to meet. So c6 knight is hanging, and also the d7 knight is hanging. So the knight cannot just jump to a7 because the d7 knight is hanging. And this knight b8 was played, but it's just losing a pawn now after bishop takes b8. So we can already transpose our advantage to a pawn up position. Rook takes on b8, and of course black has the pair of bishops, but those are not good bishops, so the position is basically technically winning for white. But there was still, I believe, one instructive moment in the game which is worth looking at a little bit. So b5, knight e1, that's a nice move. The knight is doing nothing, it's going to d3 now. Rook a4 was played, b4 is not helping much. It only leads to mass exchanges, and not only the extra pawn, but also the horrible bishop makes it pretty easy for white to win. So rook a4, knight d3, rook c4, knight b4, perfect blockade. Rook b7, rook takes on c4, bc, knight c5. Basically, it looks like that white is going for further exchanges, but of course, if black takes, then after dc, the position is hopeless. So like c pawn is decisive. Black played rook a7. And I believe here is the last interesting moment of this game. White played rook c8, which is, and after that he had to show some technique to win this game. Of course, like it looks like that knight e6 is the move, but after knight e6, bishop e6, rook e6, bishop b4, ab, rook a2. Suddenly this rook b7 or rook a2. This rook endgame is not so easy. Black has some counter chances with the c pawn. So this was correctly not played, but so why rook a7 was played? Because black wants to play c3. That's the only counter play to activate the rook. So I believe if white would have played king d2 in this position, it's so much easier. There is no c3. e6 pawn is still hanging. I don't really see any move for black here. So this rook c8 was a little bit mysterious to me. Allowing this c3 was not the best, and after bc, rook a3, king d2, the game continued. White won, but once again white had to show some technique. Anyway, so the key moment for us was this interesting tension in this position, like how to react or what to avoid and which structure to aim for. And the other one was that when this structure comes, then the two moves which we have to be ready to meet is knight h5 and knight e4, and if we do that, we have a long-term advantage thanks to those b pawns. All right, so thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked, then please subscribe, share, or I don't know what, comment. You can just give me tips. What would you like to see in the channel, and so on. And as I said, the next video will be also something along these lines. So in this c6, so this Grünfeld-Slav system.